Welcome to the 10th anniversary of REIMAGINE 2021. Presented by Mousebelt. Coming up next.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to REIMAGINE 2021 version 10. So this is our 10th edition anniversary event. We've been doing virtual conference events for the past year now, bringing you the latest in innovation, founders, and leaders in the space. I'm Roshan Mirajkar. I'll be your host for this event, and I'm very excited to bring you guys a returning guest and someone that's very important to the space. With me here today with Paolo Ardoino, who's the CTO at Tether and Bitfinex. Paolo, welcome back to the show. And everyone always hears about Tether all the time, but rarely do they get to hear from people directly. So, do you want to tell us just a little bit about yourself, and then we can go into other topics?
Thank you very much, Roshan, for having me today and having invited me in your show. So I'm Paolo Ardoino. I'm CTO at Tether and Bitfinex. And my career started when I was really young as a developer, as a coder. I started coding when I was just 8 years old. And then I kept exploring computers, networks, and it was clearly my passion. After that, when I was around 14, I started developing games, video games, and then I went to the Genoa University of Computer Science, where I graduated. I started working on one really cool military project. After that, I decided that I wanted to start learning about finance and understanding how financial systems are built. So I first moved to Switzerland and then to London to build my own startup that was meant to develop a cloud service for hedge funds and portfolio managers. So that was a really interesting experience because I learned all the things that I actually didn't like about the technology behind the financial systems. That was around 2013, 14. In my career at that point, I had to deal on a daily basis with really outdated technologies that all the hedge funds that were my clients were using to trying to reconcile numbers coming from custodians, from banks, from trading venues, and so on. Was really painful. And at the same time, I was in 2013, I was reading about Bitcoin. And I felt in love with the idea. I felt in love with the idea of having this really new technology that could, first of all, solve the problems that I was facing on a day-to-day basis, right? Because again, one of my problems was trying to reconcile numbers across tens of different venues, and it was consuming most of my day, most of my time. And building softwares around that, building systems around that was quite complicated. And Bitcoin has this property, being based on blockchain, that everything is consistent. So everything is transparent, is consistent, and you can hardly make mistakes. So that's actually the beauty of it. So you can imagine how, if the entire world would be based on the same technology that Bitcoin is based on, so blockchain, then we would have systems that would be more efficient, transparent, but also easy to maintain, and more and cheaper to maintain. So I was first looking at Bitcoin from that angle, but also, and after just a few months reading the white paper and playing with Bitcoin, I will start thinking of all the potential of the things that could be done with Bitcoin as a currency. So how it could really trying to bring finance to the unbanked, how we could actually solve many issues or broaden the boundaries of financial inclusion. And of course, I didn't have all the answers back then. Then in 2014, I took my chances when I became when I met in London Giancarlo, Bitfinex and Tether CFO. He was working mainly, well, Tether was just started and Bitfinex was already live since 2 years. And they had some technical difficulties to keep up with the demand, because already in 2014 the Bitcoin space was growing like crazy, and Bitfinex was one of the main platforms, is still today, but at that time was already one of the most established platforms, so they couldn't really easily cope with the demand. So I was brought into as an external part-time contractor to trying to improve the matching engine. The matching engine is the core part of any trading system, is the thing that has to be fastest, really fast and extremely precise. You don't want any error happening in the matching engine. So given my expertise in terms of scalable applications and parallel computing, I was able to improve the matching engine in Bitfinex. And then I started to look at the other piece of the infrastructure. In 2016, then I became the CTO after the hack that was in mid 2016. At that time, I took everything in my hands. I decided to reshape and rebuild the platform from scratch. All the services, not the matching engine was really working well at that point, but all the services were completely rewritten. And then in 2017, I became the CTO of Tether as well, where I'm still now dealing mainly and taking care of the security aspects and evaluating new blockchains, and also I'm also the guy that writes a lot on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, I love your kind of hacker mentality and mindset, and thanks for sharing kind of your past and how you kind of got to where you are right now. And I think it's great that people are wanting to learn more about kind of the underpinnings of crypto, Tether being one of them. So, you know, crypto, we've had another bull run in the past year. Can you kind of explain what effect has that had on Tether, and how does Tether, you know, help promote social and financial freedom?
Sure. So in 2020 was the 12th, 13th of March, if I'm not wrong. There was a huge crash in financial markets. Was time when COVID really started striking hard across the globe, and both financial markets, traditional financial markets, and crypto markets went down almost 50%. Bitcoin went from 7K to 4K, 30.9K in really a matter of a few hours. That point really, in my opinion, has marked the new bull run, if you want to call it. So we have seen from that moment a renewed and huge new interest, especially new interest from hedge funds, from institutionals into Bitcoin especially. So we have seen from that moment, from March, April 2020 till today, a growth of Tether from around $4 billion till $62 billion. That is almost 3,000% in growth. That's astonishing. Is if you ask me, is much more than what I expected. Is because we are humbled by this type of growth, and we still. If just at the beginning of this year in 2021, we were around 20 billion. So we had anyway 30x growth since the beginning of this year. I think that Tether has a really pivotal role in the Bitcoin and crypto industry, because is called by many the backbone of this industry. Is what really allows faster trading across different venues, is traded, the volume, Tether volume today is around $50 billion across the entire crypto industry and on all, if you sum all the volumes made on all crypto exchanges. So it's an astonishing figure. And it's also the third cryptocurrency by market cap. So yeah, it has been unbelievable for us. It's been an unbelievable growth, and we are humbled. And I believe that we will see even more growth in the future because we have many things we are working on that are extremely exciting.
Yeah, for sure. Stable coins are kind of the underpinning of crypto. Everyone is realizing now, and I think it's not talked about enough. So, can you tell us, what are some of the applications like remittances and even micropayments that you see Tether and maybe other stable coins disrupting that maybe hasn't happened yet?
So yeah, stable coins were born in with Tether. Actually, Tether was the first stable coin that created this entire industry in 2014. So it was born with a really simple use case: how to make crypto trading efficient. Back then, markets were extremely inefficient. So, and especially arbitrage across exchanges was completely inefficient. So sometimes you were seeing spreads from one exchange to another of 20, 30%. The reason was that moving dollars across different venues and trading venues was extremely difficult and slow. Sometimes it could take 1 day, 5 days, and your arbitrage opportunity was gone. Tether was super simple idea of Tether was, okay, how we can bring the same technology that is powering the brilliant this brilliant Bitcoin cryptocurrency, how we can use the same technology to move the dollars, right? At the same speed, with the same guarantees, with the same transparency. And Tether was born in that way. We looked around and we saw that the OmniLayer was the perfect choice at the time in terms of blockchain. Was a blockchain that was allowing to create your own assets. So Tether idea was simple. You wire $100 and you get 100 Tethers. From then, this idea grew into serving multiple exchanges. In 2017, we have seen the first big uptake of Tether across Binance, Huobi, OKX, Poloniex, and then eventually Kraken. This year, Coinbase and Bitstamp. So we can say that the crypto exchanges are probably 98% tethered. But crypto exchange is just one single use case because there is the rest of the world out there. The rest of the world is made by people that use on a daily basis many other services, right? They use Maps, they use Zoom to make video calls. They send money home to their families. They are borrowing funds. They are borrowing money. They are doing so many diverse things that they are not only a small portion of the world is crypto trading. Now, Tether real use case is starting already. It has started last year when we started looking around and see how we could really use Tether as a way to broaden the boundaries of the financial inclusion, because stable coins are something that everyone can understand more easily than many cryptocurrencies, because they maintain a stable value. So you look at your portfolio and you see the same value over and over. It does not change with the variation of the price. So they are the perfect entry point for the retail and many people, and for all the traditional use cases that would expect, like e-commerces. E-commerces are a great example. Now, the entire e-commerce space is driven by the payment systems in the commerce space are driven by debit and credit cards. And actually, debit and credit cards are hitting really badly all merchants because you have fees up to 3%, while with Tether and stablecoins in general, fees are just mining fees, the blockchain fees, but Tether is not charging any transactional fee. And at the same time offers much more transparency because everything is on a blockchain, is more efficient, and you can even have programmable money. So that's a different order of magnitude than debit and credit card system. And then you have remittances. The remittances companies are hitting even more people that are just willing to send some money back to home. And Tether really will completely wipe out those 5-7% commissions that are just crazy. And at the same time, the of course in parallel you will see that actually Tether, and in general cryptocurrency, but Tether I believe has a really big role in this, can really bring bank to the unbanked. So financial services to people that actually are not in this moment able to open a bank account because they don't have maybe enough money, they don't meet the limits of the banks. And Tether, while having a really strong KYC/AML system and processes, is also a much more offer a solution that is more efficient, is cheaper to maintain, is based on a technology that was just born. Does not have all these really old legacy of financial technology to carry on as the traditional systems. So yeah, I believe that the future of Tether and stablecoins and crypto in general is to broaden financial access, to make it more efficient, more transparent, and it's happening.
Definitely. And yeah, those are great points on, the benefits of stablecoin. And yeah, I'm glad you expanded on the more use cases of Tether as well, because I think many people think of crypto as kind of a volatile asset. So one of my, follow-up questions was, so do you think, going forward in the future that there will actually be companies like TradeFi, traditional finance companies that are going to hold Tether reserves, or do you think there'll be more growth in DeFi and people using Tether as kind of a reserve there for a lot of these pools?
Tether growth in the DeFi space has been already quite impressive. You can see that Tether is one of the top two stable coins used in DeFi space, alongside with the USDC. Also is one of the two projects that is generating more gas fees on Ethereum alone. And Tether is a part and it has been issued on many different blockchains. We can think about Liquid, Solana, EOS, OmniLayer, Tron, of course, and is growing its number of blockchains by the month. So I would say that the DeFi case has been already not completed, but well owned by Tether. But also is important for us to look outside of the DeFi space. As I said before, there is a world of possibilities, a world of opportunities outside the crypto only, and we are seeing actually many funds, many even banks and financial institutions that are comfortable and happy to keep Tether in their balance sheet. So I foresee this as a way for Tether to grow even more, and for financial institutions instead is a way to have access to a really deep liquidity, to be able to interact with the new financial world that is growing, that is DeFi, but in general crypto. When I talk to certain financial institutions, they are really interested to use Tether as a way to also provide a payment layer for their customers. So I think that we will see more and more of this type of adoption in the next year or so.
Yeah, thanks for explaining that a bit more. And yeah, something I was thinking about too, based on what you said, is the concept of transparency. So how can we use Tether to maybe improve some of the governments or things like the Fed, where they're just printing unlimited dollars, it seems, and no one can seem to keep track. So yeah, how do you see a world in where we can, you know, track every dollar? Like, what are the immediate benefits and maybe some risk as well?
So Tether was able this year to obtain an attestation of reserves. The attestation was obtained with working with Moore Kaiman, that is part of Moore Global, that is one of the top 10 accounting firms in this world. The attestation shows that all Tether tokens are backed by reserves. And that's really an important point to make. So the attestation is done on a quarterly basis. And moreover, Tether went one step further and provided a breakdown of reserves to show how the portfolio backing these Tether tokens is made of. And the next step that was already announced by our general counsel is to work on a full audit. So actually, we're already working on that and is months away. So in this way, you prove that all the Tether tokens that you issue are backed by reserve. So this is the level of transparency that our users, but in general, crypto users expect. And I believe all the users in general, all the users also of the traditional financial system should expect in terms of transparency. You have a certain backing from one side, and on the other side, you can issue X amount of tokens or dollars or any currency. That is, I believe, one really important aspect of transparency. And we have demonstrated in many ways that Tether is a leader in this process, is a leader in providing transparency, in setting the bar higher for the stablecoin industry. Of course, it's important also that we have to understand that with transparency also we have to remember that the privacy of people is also important. So it's important to respect the privacy of people, because it's important that when people buy things online and so on, they shouldn't feel like their every single move is tracked by everyone, right? So it's important to research, and to talk with also regulators. So research from a pure technical point of view, but also talk with regulators to make sure that from one side we can keep the level of transparency that is needed to make to make the users comfortable. But on the other side, we need to make sure that we can at the same time respect users' privacy. So these are two things: transparency and privacy feel like sometimes the opposite, but they are not. And I believe that there is those are two really important concepts that we have to keep in mind and work on the technological level, as I said, and with regulators to create a strong fundamental for the entire stablecoin, but crypto industry in general as it evolves and serves many more users in the future.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I think a lot of new people coming into the space, those are all things they worry about, which is, security and privacy. Sometimes people say Bitcoin is completely private, but then as you learn more about it, you learn that, not completely, there are limitations as well. But, I kind of want to get into a little bit of, your personal experience, like what it takes to run, Bitfinex and something like Tether as well, be a part of that. So can you tell us a little bit more about what are the different technologies, and like how much of your daily, I guess your daily business are you dealing with more like the crypto side of things, and how much is it still like traditional stuff for like clearing houses and stuff like that?
So my day is quite varied. So I'm the CTO, so I try to reserve as much time as I can to develop, because it's the thing that I love. So personally, I keep developing the matching engine and a few other critical parts of the platform. But it's also true that we have an outstanding team. It is not that big. Our development team is made by brilliant minds, brilliant developers that produce extremely solid and solid and high quality code. Right. When I hire someone, I always tell them the only thing that you need to do is, there are two things that are critical to me. First of all, you have to respect others people's money. So you have to our users trust us with their funds. So you have to have full respect of that. Second, your code has to resist to the wrath of God. So for any reason, it should never crash. It has to be perfect. Take more time, take more, ask for help, ask for more eyes, but that's what we want. It has to resist to high volatility. It has to resist to sudden increase of our user base. So that's how we protect our users. And of course, it has to be secure. So given the fact that we were able over time to reach a really high quality team, I spend half of my day in coding, and the rest of my day is dealing with business, and also business that is divided with dealing with legal and regulation as well. I think it's important that the entire technical and business departments that I'm leading are all aware of all the regulatory aspects, because in the end, then these solutions have to pass through a technological, or all these processes that are requested needs to pass through a technical process. So we, for example, developed our own KYC and ML platform in Bitfinex Tether that is outstanding. Is one of the most comprehensive pieces of software that you will find in this industry, but also I believe in the broader financial industry. We decided to develop our own KYC ML infrastructure because, first of all, we wanted to keep our customer information safe. We wanted to be in control of that entire information base. So only if you take you internalize everything, you can be 100% sure of everything that is happening. So this is a good example of the things that I'm leading internally to make sure that we can provide a trustworthy service to our customers. Then, as I said, I love coding a lot. So the trading engine is still my baby, and I'm not letting it go because I can express myself in terms of scalability, performance, squeezing the last 10 microseconds from a process is something that I love. And then yes, business is still part of my department. So we hired and we have a really great business development team that is seeking, of course, the partnerships and is seeking growth in the crypto space, but at the same time is also seeking to go outside the crypto space, as we discussed before. And we launched Bitfinex Pay. So their role is to look how these products can fit use cases outside of the crypto space. And then, of course, talking with legal and the compliance is part of my day-to-day job, because first of all, I have to be aware of all the requirements, and also I can give my feedback on how things are changing, so that we can be always proactive when changes are required.
Yeah, that was an interesting little inside look. Yeah, I'm sure your department and you specifically, the rate at which you're innovating and moving forward is definitely faster than the SEC and all their regulations they're trying to impose. So that was also one of my questions as well. When people like Gary Gensler from the SEC, he's trying to bring down new regulations. What role do you think you and just other people in the crypto space, collective companies, like what role do you think you all have, and what is your response to some of the things like this? Like, do you actually think can it actually help and catch up with the technology?
I think that is important to maintain an open dialogue. So regulators are interested to maintain the safety of the finances of the broader customer base of financial services. And at the same time, they might not have a full overview of the technology that have been created since 2008 on a daily basis, And it's important that this dialogue goes back and forth, because regulations are good for the growth and establishing this industry as a wider industry that can serve billions of people. At the same time, it's important that regulators are listening to us, that we build this industry from the ground up, so that they can learn the challenges that we had, and they learn how this technology works, so they can proper adjust the regulations to still protect, of course, the customer's interest, and also give to the companies like Tether and Bitfinex clear guidelines on that can be used to grow even farther in this industry, but in the broader financial industry. So as I said, this is part of the daily discussions that I'm having with the legal and compliance team. So I see that I think that this is an important moment. We were expecting that regulators would take deeper look into DeFi, into stablecoins, crypto in general, and we are ready. We are ready. We are here. We have always a positive and open discussion with the regulators.
Yeah, I think that's a good healthy mentality to have, because although they might not even understand all of the technologies present, there's still underlying safety precautions and different things like that. Just in general, what do you think was what's been the most significant development just in the crypto space, you think, in 2021?
So I think that well, first of all, I'm glad to see Taproot for Bitcoin going live, and also I'm really excited to see Lightning Network as one of the most prominent projects that is finally having a lot of traction this year. With Bitfinex, we were early supporters of Lightning Network, so we added it as a deposit and withdrawal mechanism for Bitfinex. With Tether, we are investigating how we can use the same, let's say, transport layer of Lightning Network to also transport digital assets or digital tokens like Tether. So you could say that Tether is actively seeking on how to issue Tether on top of Lightning Network. I believe that is one of the most interesting things that hopefully will happen by the end of this year or beginning of next year. In general, I would say that of course, we are seeing also a big uptake in DeFi. We have seen many projects having big success. Also, new blockchains have been trying to challenge Ethereum dominance. So I think that competition have been a little bit more fierce this year, or well, starting from probably later last year and all this year have been a little bit fierce on DeFi and blockchains, new blockchains, and it's all good for definitely for innovation. Of course, as you well know, in my heart there is Bitcoin like network, but I can see that the entire industry is growing at a crazy pace.
Yeah, I don't think that's talked about enough, how the growth of the Lightning Network and other cryptocurrencies trying to also utilize the Lightning Network. It's definitely gonna bring down fees and different things like that for sure. And also kind of going back to the talk on stable coins, for the people out there that are not in crypto or they're still skeptical, can you explain the difference between the current inflation they're experiencing and the very low yields in the traditional finance system, and how a lot of stable coins in DeFi are able to achieve high yields like trustlessly?
As we have all seen since 2020, when COVID struck after March, April, we have seen the central banks really start issuing a lot of money, so printing money in terms of trillions and trillions of dollars. And that, of course, is having effects that are already being visible now in the housing market, for example, but also in the actual power that people's salary have in terms of buying goods. So I think that just to connect to what we said before, I believe that the transparency of our industry in general of stable coins, but also Bitcoin and so on, allows first of all allows the customers, the users to uh, understand, dissect, review the actual backing, the actual proof of reserves of the assets that they're using, and this gives a level of trust that is that was not there before, that was not achievable before. And what we are seeing now in as a trending financial product in DeFi is lending. So when you have assets, you can lend these assets on certain DeFi protocols. We can think about Cream, for example, or Aave, that allow you to put some funds, a part of your funds, in a pool, and that can be these funds can be lent out to maybe a 4%, 8%, 7% yield. That really creates a free market for borrowers and lenders. And the reason why there are these such a high yields when the dollar, when the euro have either zero or quite zero yields or negative yields is that there since the, let's say, the liquidity in the crypto space is quite contained still. When borrowers can borrow from these lending markets and to try to use these borrowed funds to take advantage of certain market conditions or certain high volatility moments, and so they are happy to pay up to maybe 4, 5, 7, up to 10% sometime of interest in order to have access to high liquidity and extremely efficient lending markets. And on the other side, they can use these funds, as I was saying before, to exploit certain market conditions with projected return that is, of course, much higher than the interest that they're that are going to pay. So this is, but the beauty of it is that is a transparent process, can be reviewed. The majority of these lending pools are on Ethereum. You go on Etherscan, and you can see all this happening in real time. So of course, we cannot say that is 100% safe, in the sense that sometimes we have seen certain projects not acting in good faith, or there were some bugs that caused people losing their money. So it's transparent in the good way, in the sense that the entire process is out there. The code that powers these lending platforms is out there, so people that can review the code that is powering these platforms, and they can also understand the risks that they might incur in using these platforms. And again, this is something that is at an order of magnitude above to what we are used in financial markets, in traditional financial markets, when the kind of the banking system, the lending and borrowing systems are like a black box for many. So I think that this is a great innovation that crypto is bringing to the world, and I believe that we are going to see it. Of course, we are seeing regulations to step in a little bit, but also is something that in the proper way can be brought and serve billions of people, because this, you can imagine how this type of projects, this type of transparent lending borrowing mechanism will give access to financial services to many people that in this moment are unbanked, but they all can use a wallet on their phone. They of course have to do that, follow the regulations. They have to do, KYC, AML, and so on. Fine, that's great. That has something that has to come into fruition anyway. But at the same time, the entry barrier is much lower than bank accounts, and that is really important. That is one of the meanings of our industry.
Yeah, I mean, look, every other data attribute we're using right now, social media, we store everything with centralized providers. I see DeFi and everything you just covered as kind of like an open source bank. I think the financial part is the last thing that people just haven't moved to trust it in a more decentralized way. But also when we're talking about the future, do you think, like, how much of the future of commerce do you think will happen on chain, and how much will it be kind of like a synthetic asset? And what will stay the same, do you think, with TradeFi?
So I think that the future of commerce will be with stable coins and some probably Bitcoin. Stable coins, again, in my opinion, are a little bit easier to understand for the broader retail user base. I think that, of course, is important when it comes to, if you think about solving micropayments for the entire e-commerce space. Of course, you cannot use easily Ethereum, right? Because Ethereum is too slow for that. But also all the existing blockchains, layer one blockchains, are not fast enough to solve that the scalability problem that would come to life if all the commerces suddenly would use blockchains. So I think that that's why I'm excited by Lightning Network, because you can use, and you will be able to use soon, because again, Tether is working on this specific problem. You will be able to use both Bitcoin and stable coins through Lightning Network in a peer-to-peer fashion. So you don't need a central, let's say, one single blockchain that records everything. You can open channels between the end user and e-commerce and send payment back and forth. They are, of course, secured by the Bitcoin network, because Lightning Network is secured by the Bitcoin network, but also is layered two, right? It does not have the load on the layer one as all the other payment protocols that are just relying on layer one do. So that's why I'm excited about it, and that's what I think it will be the main use case for online commerce and micropayments, because it's peer-to-peer, it's is also privacy oriented, and is extremely fast. Of course, you can do hundreds of transactions per second, and extremely scalable, and again, is secured by the biggest blockchain that is available in this moment, that is Bitcoin, that is worth $700 billion, and was worth more than $1 trillion just a few months ago. So this is definitely happening. I'm glad, and I'm really happy to see that both Tether and Bitfinex are a big part of this movement, of trying to bring Lightning Network to fruition, and to explain it to people, and to trying to talk and pitch this opportunity to many other projects and service providers. So I think this is where the world will land in terms, let's say, in 5 years from now, in terms of online payments.
Yeah, we're definitely going to see more online payments, and I think, especially with the COVID world we're still living in, I think we're going to see a lot more digital payments. Companies like Amazon and others, there's been rumors, nothing solidifying yet, but I think it'll definitely come out. And yeah, kind of going back to, I guess, talking about custody a bit as well, like, right now with traditional finance, I would say many companies, they don't have stellar businesses, but they simply are making margins off things like remittances and just, the custody of people's money, right? Just charging service fees. So do you think that business models like that will survive kind of this next wave of crypto, where, either someone like Tether is custodying it and it's transparent, or even users are custodying it themselves. So like, do you think custody legacy huge businesses will survive? And if so, like, what will they need to change, kind of?
So I'm a big Bitcoin proponent. So first of all, for me, it is one of the beautiful things of this industry is people taking control of their own wealth. So as a person that is leading one of the biggest cryptocurrency exchanges that takes in custody tens of billions of dollars, one of the things that is important anyway in terms of education for our users is that it's great to use trusted exchanges like Bitfinex to custody your own money. But at the same time, it's important that you understand the philosophy behind our entire space. The philosophy is that you can use services fine, but the key thing is that you have to learn how to protect your own wealth. So how you keep control and how you and that comes with understanding how the concept of private keys work. Unfortunately, it's not a trivial thing to understand for the many yet. But there are definitely ways through user experience that projects can improve in order to teach to the user how to generate a wallet, keep the seed in a safe way, and then keep control their own wealth. Then, of course, part of it can be can be spent for online commerce, can be sent to cryptocurrency exchanges to trade, and other, for example, lending services. Fine, but I think that is important also. Consider myself an OG. I coming from the early times of this industry. I see how it's important that, of course, the more this industry will grow, we don't lose its original philosophy. So I see that most of the projects that we do involve people and that we are working on this moment involve creating non-custodial wallets, non-custodial user experiences, because that's something that we want to push our users for. Then, of course, we have our custodial services like Bitfinex that offer a great and really extremely secure way of custodying your assets. And I believe that banks should, and the traditional financial institutions should learn from our experience on how to properly protect these new digital assets, because they are used to their closed financial system where the assets could be, there are still numbers on databases, right? But custodying assets on behalf of their clients is in their world, in the traditional world, is much, in my opinion, is much easier than custodying all the digital assets and digital tokens that are available now in crypto. The reason is, of course, if, for example, you make a mistake and you send 100 Bitcoin to a random address, there is no way back. So having this additional is this fresh wave of developers and technologies into banks is extremely important, because they need to understand how much potential there is in crypto and in custodying digital assets, but also at the same time, they need to understand how to do it properly. There are companies, there are people that have now a decade of experience in this. So there is a lot to learn. There is a lot of literature already. And I believe that they will have to adapt, because crypto is here. It will just eat the entire world, in my opinion. It will not go away. It will become the new traditional finance, because that's where we're going.
Yep, they better, they better like learn with all the new happenings in the space, or kind of get disintermediated. I think, as you said, great point. As more people start to get more educated on how their money structure works right now, I think they'll start to understand why these yields exist and how they sort of exist in the traditional finance world, except they just never have access to it because the banks are keeping most of it, right? Sorry about that.
Exactly.
And yeah, so kind of like my last few questions here. What is your, continuing on this, importance of education? What is your advice for entrepreneurs and new builders in the space? Any particular areas they should focus on, and what should they be careful of?
So this is a great point. So one of the most important things for me is that is education, right? I come from part of my life in the, especially after graduation, I took care of research and trying always to produce content to help educate other developers in my case. But education is one of the most critical things that need to happen in our industry when we are when we are talking to retail, but also entrepreneurs and so on, because we are dealing with wealth, we are dealing with people money. So we have to be extremely respectful, and we have to educate them. We have to take the time to educate them. So, but on the other side, it's important that who is approaching this industry is not seeing this industry as a way to become richer or to become wealthier faster. That is not what this is about. There is a joke that many people say, I'm in for the technology. And actually, it's true. You should be in first for the technology and for the philosophy, because this industry was created with Bitcoin. That was a way to give back financial control to people. That has to be respected. That has to be understood. Of course, then you can, if at the moment you start learning more and more about this industry, there are ways, there is so much potential. There are ways you can find to of course to improve your position in terms of wealth. That's great. I mean, there is with DeFi, with Bitcoin itself, with providing new services on top of Bitcoin. There are all ways that you can put your entrepreneurial skills to service, and then you can build great businesses. But all comes with time, all comes with learning and the passion and interest for the fundamentals and for the philosophy. So I would say first learn, because there are also, we are reading this every single day. There are always scams. There are there are risks of hacks and so on. So if you don't take your time to learn, you are just putting your money and your time at risk, and that's the most dangerous thing that you can do. Instead, if you start understanding how things work, what you can trust and what you cannot trust, and the entire concept of don't trust, verify, then you will have a great success in crypto.
Yeah, that's right. You shouldn't trust, you should try to verify everything. And that's the great, again, like you said, philosophy and spirit of our place. And yeah, specifically, does Tether have any like small incubation or acceleration models where, you're supporting things like, startup derivative projects or anything like that?
Definitely, we have recently invested in many different interesting projects. We have formed two joint ventures that are going towards building retail products that are not crypto-centric, but actual retail products of decentralized, privacy-protecting versions of tools that people use in their day-to-day life. So I'm extremely excited about that. But also we are investing and in startups. We are giving grants for things that we believe are important. We are providing some funding to Lightning Network related projects, as I said before, to try to bring assets, digital assets issuance on Lightning Network. So I'm always excited for technology and for projects that are aligned with our vision and we can invest in.
Awesome. Yeah, it's great to hear you guys are supporting startups. And my last two questions, what makes you the most optimistic right now for the future of crypto?
So I think that one of the really interesting things that I have seen is, this entire China banning mining thing really, again, has shown how Bitcoin is solid, right? mining started moving from China, that had at some point up to 50% of the entire mining power, and now is getting distributed across the world in different jurisdictions, in different locations. And that's great. Is yet another proof of how solid Bitcoin is, right? So this makes me feel good, right? I wake up in the morning and say, okay, I have some assets in Bitcoin. I'm safe. No one will ever take that away from me, because there are so many miners now. The mining is so strong, and yes, it's so strong, it's so diverse and so on, that it makes this, it's basically what is keeping up is on its shoulder, this entire industry. So that is what makes me optimistic, is yet another proof, right? Sometimes after a while, you need a refresher, right? You need something to happen to see that this sector is strong. So I would, if I have to name one thing, that would be.
Yeah, actually, I love that kind of unique view. A lot of people saw it as a negative, but you're totally right. I mean, Bitcoin has been a part of the resistance movement for so long, and it's just awesome to see even in the decentralized world that it's still surviving. And yeah, I think there's a lot of great initiatives going on, and of course, you were a part of our Coins podcast exciting media initiative. If you just want to talk a little bit about, how was your experience with that?
Well, my experience was great, right? So you had the patience to take a person like me that is a shy developer and trying to put it in front of camera, well shaved, and trying to educate people, but more well. I didn't mean to sound cocky, but in general, trying to express myself, tell my story. I believe that was great. I know that you had many great guests in the show, so I cannot wait to see that, because it was really fun for me, and sure that was fun for many others that I talked to, and will definitely help to bring stories of passion, stories of great minds, not mine, but many that you had in the show, to the broader audience. So thank you very much for having done that.
Yeah, thank you, Paolo, for you and everyone else being a part of it. That's really what made it possible. And yeah, I had a great time talking to you here today. There's been a lot of news about Tether, more people getting educated. So lastly, how can people either reach you or even learn more about Tether if you have any resources you want to shout out?
Sure. I mean, you can follow myself on Twitter at Paolo Ardoino. I'm the guy that posts a lot of memes and sometimes talks about patch. But then you can follow Tether TO on Twitter, and Bitfinex at Bitfinex on Twitter, and also you can of course visit Tether.to website or Bitfinex.com website. And thank you very much, Roshan, to have had a meet again today.
Definitely. Thank you, Paulo. And for the rest of you that are still watching, stay tuned. We're bringing you more interviews here at Reimagine 2021 version 10. Check out our full YouTube library. We've done over 500 interviews now. And, thanks for the whole community for watching and being a part of this Reimagine project. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.